Hello there guys, it's Captain Invisible here and welcome to another Hotseat campaign for Medieval 2 Total War. So in the past my Hotseat campaigns haven't really gone very well at all. Since the Grand Hotseat campaign, which did fizzle out eventually. I mean that one lasted 2-3 years, so that one was pretty long. It was always going to not be too easy to complete, but it was a really good one. But since then, I've not really had a decent Hotseat campaign. Certainly not one that I've really wanted to upload. But this one is another YouTuber Hotseat, so everyone in this Hotseat is a YouTuber. So I will definitely link all of the channels in the description. But this one is set on the Custom Campaigns mod on the Tyronian map. If you've ever seen it, it's a very fantasy orientated map designed to really cause some chaos with the factions. Some factions having really good positions, some being right next to each other. It gives some expansion options, but those expansion options could take it into some really nasty territory. So I'll get into it as soon as possible, and then you guys can see for yourself what the map is like. So we need to create a password. Let's make sure I'm doing the right one. Excellent, there we are. So we are playing as the Russians, who I will be renaming shortly because Russia doesn't exist. And as you can see on the map, it's a very fancy map. It looks almost Lord of the Rings. You've got. I certainly recognise sort of this section. I think Lord of the Rings comes a bit down further here, but you can imagine Gondor being right here. You've got the Haradrim down here, and then you've got Mordor over here. So I know, and obviously forests to the north as well. So I do know enough about Lord of the Rings to know it looks kind of Lord of the Ringsy, but not enough. I don't know enough about Lord of the Rings to tell you that it looks. To me, it looks Lord of the Ringsy. Most of you will probably look at it and go, "No, it doesn't. What the hell are you on about?" So I do apologise if my knowledge of Lord of the Rings doesn't make it look such, but it does kind of look like that. Obviously, the mountain ranges and things are going to be in different positions, depending on your opinion of it. But to me, it looked Lord of the Ringsy, so it's a nice fantasy map to go ahead with. So we're situated here, there's factions all over the place. There's, I think, England up here, you've got the Holy Roman Empire down here, and then the Aztecs. The Aztecs are playable, and they're all the way down this side of the map. You've got Scotland, I think, somewhere around about here, the Byzantines all the way down here, and these players, the Holy Roman Empire, Scotland, the Byzantines, the Papal States right here, Venice along this peninsula here, Spain over here, myself, and don't know whether I've forgotten anyone. There are 7 of us, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, sorry, forgetting myself. So yeah, those are the 7 factions that are player based. But we are playing as the Russians. We are quite far away from the action, as you can see. The other players are sort of revolving around here, but we are just off the fringes of that chaos. In fact, I could probably show you the players here. So England's computer. Holy Roman Empire is a human player. Spain, or the Spanish Inquisition now he's called, is human. Merchant Republic of Venice is a human. Scotland is human. The Byzantines are human. And I think that's it other than myself. Oh no, the Papal States is a human player as well. And then there's us as Russia, again, soon to change our name. So new map, new faction, a new background I think we need, because we can't just be the Russians and expect to get away with that. This is a new map. This is a fantasy map, so we need a fantasy faction. So, my idea for this faction, I'll start with a name and then I'll be able to explain the name a bit more. So, we're going to go with the Principality of the Amber Plains. It's quite a long one, but I quite like the idea that if you look at the ground, we are very much amber coloured. I imagine this is to do with farming. We already have some grain over here, and this sort of section here is the Amber Plains. It's fed by this beautiful river running through here. I mean, you could even make this bit the Amber Plains as well, but this river basically feeds all of this land, and it creates some excellent farm-based agriculture, which means that we can our fields are basically amber with grains and other I say farming goods. So our fields, instead of being green, are basically amber with all this farmland, which makes for quite an interesting idea. So the backstory of my faction, quite an interesting place to be, is we have the Mongols down here, and you can't have the Mongols next here and not include them as part of a backstory. So the idea was similar to what the Mongols did to Russia. Our nation was divided by princes, and vying princes, wanting power for the entire land. So sort of fought for control over the Amber Plains, because it is a rich place to be, as all the farmland, all the potential farmland, and this river is going to be very valuable. And that creates some division, which the Mongols took full advantage of, and marched their huge nomadic tribes up north, and basically just claim the Amber Plains for themselves. They weren't going to let us have it. They were determined to keep us under heel and use this rich farmland and our own tribute to them to fund their other expansions. So the Mongols came in like a wave and just completely basically showed the princes that there was only one ruling power in the region, and the princes had to submit. Eventually, though, the princes were getting tired of the Mongol rule. They banded together and tried to subterfuge the Mongol ruling, and that came ahead when I can't keep calling them Mongols because Mongolia doesn't exist, but that all came ahead when the Great Khan when the Great Khan died and a new Great Khan was to be chosen. So the leader of the region over here that had sort of the majority of his army in place had to pull back to the Mongolian heartland, which I think is about here. I think it's in these mountains, to basically elect a new Great Khan. It happened quite a lot in Mongolian history, so I thought it would be quite nice to add that in as well. And what that did was it took a small force of the Mongols away with him as well, and it put a new general in charge of the sort of Great Khan force over here. Now the new leader was not as skilled as the previous one had been, so he had different ideas of combat and different tactics, and he failed to recognise that the winters in these lands can be quite harsh. Certainly the mountainous regions are going to be treacherous. So, and the river, again, when it comes to winter, the river's going to overflow. It's going to become quite bloated, and it's going to block the path. It's basically going to block this entire section off. So there's going to be no retreating south. So the Great Khan was stuck in here the Mongolian force was stuck in here with its forces, and this was what the Grand Princes were waiting for. So they marched down to try and face the Mongolian force, and the Mongols liked to do a a feinted retreat in most of their tactics. So yeah, the Mongols would basically drag their force down here. You're plucking away at the prince's forces, and you would eventually sort of whittle them down. But when they got to the river was so bloated and so sort of overflown that they couldn't cross the river, and this meant that the Grand Princes could then pin the Mongolian force against the river or in the river, you're drowning a lot of its troops, and eventually defeat the Mongolian forces, which freed the princes from the Mongolian rule. At least they believed it did. And they elected the leading prince, the Grand Prince, who orchestrated this victory, to become their new Grand Prince, or in our case, the Grand Duke, who is here. So this is Grand Duke Yezvolod, who is going to be our sort of hero of the Principality of the Amber Plains, and he unified the Amber Plains under his control. There are just a few settlements that he has to take back from the rebellious princes that refuse to submit to his rule, but we can get that orchestrated as soon as possible. So that's the basic idea of my my faction's backstory. I thought it was quite interesting to have a new backstory with this nation. And as I say, you can't have the Mongols down here and not have them be part of the backstory. It just fitted so well in the grand scheme of things. So we do have our Grand Duke here. We do have Prince Vladimir. They both have some nice early game units. The Cossacks aren't too great, but they're gonna be okay. You know, they're gonna do what we need them to do. In fact, I didn't realise they had 6 missile attack. That's quite potent. I thought they only had 5, but yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. And then we've got some archer militia. Again, not too great units. These woodsmen aren't too bad, but they are cheap and you're kind of expendable at the same time. But we don't want to just throw them away too quickly. So we're going to, there's a settlement right here, a nice little castle that we need to take. It's going to give us a good spearhead into these lands, and give us some great control over this section. It will allow us to either push eastward here towards the Danish, or it will allow us to push south towards the Mongols, or it will allow us to jump. I think there's another settlement right here, so it'll allow us to jump to this one and maybe push against the Turks and over this way, where most of the players are facing off. So we are going to position ourselves here. I could lay siege this turn, but there are 5 units in there. I really don't want the enemy to sally out, because even though it's the AI, it will get to fight an AI versus AI battle, and those generally favour the most numerous forces. So we are going to just sit in this this fort here, blocking the river. The great thing about this position is we only have 3 river crossings into this land. There's one here, there is this one here, and there is one over here, but I don't think the Danish are going to be able to attack us that quickly. Crossing the mountains is going to be perilous for them, and as I said, I don't think they're going to be able to get to this crossing that quickly. I might put a fort there just in case, but I feel confident that they're not going to come this way. Says every failed general in history, but we're fairly confident about them not doing that for now anyway. We're going to move out the prince as well. He's going to come down this way, and I believe there is a settlement, I think it's right here, for him to take. So he's going to march down towards that and try and take that settlement. I could place a watchtower there, but I think it might be a waste, because as soon as I take this settlement, I think these two join up. I need some watchtowers in the centre here, but we are going to wait for those, and we're going to get some watchtowers down here as well as soon as we get Tivador, just to just to give us a view on the Mongol expansion. So in terms of our town's problems, we do have a squalor problem in here. Unfortunately, I don't know whether there's something we can do about squalor other than increasing our health and farming things just to outpace it. So we're gonna have to leave that for now. Our main problems are gonna be our main ideas are gonna be with getting a brothel for spies. We are only allowed one spy in this campaign, so it is going to make it quite interesting. And what it also does is force me to get a ballista maker, just so we can have our artillery, just to again try and take out this settlement as quickly as possible before the Turks take it. We do have a princess here. I'm going to leave her because I need her to get married. I need another general, and there's no real diplomatic there's no diplomatic reason why I should send a diplomat to the Mongols or the Pyramids, because they are AI based and they are going to stab me in the back eventually, so there is no point me trying to work with them. And then we're going to get stables to get some cavalry up, because in this mod, in the Custom Campaigns mod, castles do not give you cavalry. They only give you sort of peasants and peasant archers, so you do need the stables to actually get cavalry, which is an interesting one. It does certainly make it a bit harder, but it also makes sense. I mean, you need a stable to stable horses, so why would you be able to make stables from castle? Why would you be able to make horses from castle walls? It doesn't really make sense. So it's something we need to get up as soon as possible, because cavalry is going to be our main edge in this, considering that our other troops are fairly low tier. In fact, very low tier, not really worth much. So we've got our troops marching out. We've got our buildings set up. We've renamed ourselves, and there's not much else to go on. We have our generals. I say I'm going to try marry Antonia to a general as well and get some of that going. We do have 2 sons here, which is quite good. It's going to mean that we're going to have quite a few generals later on, age 4 and age 3. So we are going to get some kiddies going. This guy is 50 years old though, so we do need another general just in case this guy dies too quickly. We are going to have more generals to work with. I think that's everything. There's nothing I've forgotten. At the moment, there's no real rankings yet. So I mean, you can see dots, but we'll wait until next turn to really check those out. Again, diplomatically, there's nothing. I forgot to say diplomatically as well. We are not allowed to just send messages to the other players just as and when. We actually have to discover them. Again, I know where they are, but my nation, my leader, doesn't have any clue who is where and what's happening. I mean, I shouldn't technically know where the Mongols are, but I wanted them to be part of my history, and this is a Islamic settlement, so I have a feeling this is kind of like a Mongol outpost, so we should technically know where they are based on my backstory, but again, it's part of the game not to know where anyone is, so I don't know where any of these factions are. It's just land to my nation. So I think that's everything. So before, my finances not too bad. We are building a lot, so we're not making a profit, but we are going to have some treasury next turn, so we will get to play around with that. And then next turn we are just going to be laying siege to these settlements, so again, nothing too interesting. Hopefully we'll get a new general though next turn as well, and we'll just wait for these buildings to build. A lot of them are just 2-turn buildings, so we should have some buildings constructing. I'm hoping to get fully set up by about turn 7, so capturing these 2 lands, building them up, having a nice cavalry force, maybe even going towards England, who knows. I am gonna leave it up to fate to decide who I go after. You guys are more than welcome to put in the comments who you think I should attack. Again, it's going to take me a while to consolidate these lands anyway, so by the time I've done that, I should be able to read your comments before marching out. The Mongols are going to be an obvious target, but again, I'm going to leave that up to you guys, because I can quite happily defend this river here and these mountains from them. I don't have to march into the mountains to actually take them out. There are the Turks over here, which would take me closer to the Byzantines and Venice, which would be quite interesting. Just taking this castle here will give me a nice foothold into these lands. Or there is England up north, which again will take me closer to the Holy Roman Empire and Scotland as well. Scotland being sort of down here. Or there is just taking out the Danish. Again, the Danish are an AI trapped in this corner, so taking them out would be quite easy to do. So yeah, completely up to you guys. I have no strong feelings either way. It's all part of the fun, and again, I just want to consolidate this section of my lands, the Amber Plains, before I decide to move on towards other things. So that should be the end of my turn. There's nothing else I needed to do. My money looks absolutely fine for now, so end the turn. Then we can save it as the Papal States. Excellent. So the Papal States are up. Yes, they are in this this campaign. It's going to be quite fun to see the Holy Father go to war against everyone. Really interesting. Really interesting having the Aztecs and the Papal States in this one, and he's a human player as well, so it's going to be really interesting to see. But that's it for now. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all in the next video.